I downloaded the Battle for Polytopia expecting a tiny mobile strategy game, something quick, something simple, something I play for 5, 10, 15 minutes a few times and uninstall. And that is not what happened. Hi, I'm Vadd. In this review, we're going to talk about the Battle of Polytopia, where I just kept coming back again and again for just one more turn. Because underneath the simple graphics and the minimalist design is a strategy game that understands something a lot of recent games have forgotten. Simple systems can still create interesting decisions. The Battle of Polytopia isn't trying to overwhelm you with menus. It isn't trying to sell you a battle pass every 4 seconds. It doesn't need giant cinematic cutscenes. This game gives you a map, your tribe, a handful of units, and says, good luck. And somehow, for me, that was enough. Here at the start, I just want to say, I think the Battle of Polytopia is a fantastic strategy game with smart restraint, even if it eventually runs out of surprises. The questions I kept asking myself as I was working on my review process here was, what makes the Battle of Polytopia so addictive? Why does it succeed where a lot of strategy games fail? And also, where Polytopia is really showing its limits, because I really do think it's one of the best strategy games you can casually pick up. But I also think eventually you hit a ceiling, and once you see behind the curtain, for me, some of the magic fades. At its core, the Battle for Polytopia is a turn-based strategy game that was originally designed and released on mobile devices. Listen, I get it, mobile games have a bad reputation. And to be clear, they have a bad reputation that is well-deserved. Mobile games are consistently designed around predatory, addictive loops designed with gameplay timers, energy systems, currency packs, notifications begging you to come back. I'm telling you now, in its current state, Polytopia feels different. For me, I think Polytopia feels like someone genuinely wanted to make a strategy game first. And this matters, because from the moment you start playing the Battle of Polytopia, the game feels laser focused. There's not a massive tutorial dragging you through menus, there's not a giant story dump, there's not an endless system stacked on top of systems. You pick a tribe, you spawn into a fog cover world, and you immediately begin expanding. You're exploring, you're capturing cities, you're researching technology, you're building an army, you're fighting enemies, and that's actually basically it. It sounds like a lot, but as far as strategy games go, it's kind of simple, and somehow it works incredibly well here. I think what makes the Battle of Polytopia interesting is how much depth it creates from extremely simple mechanics. At first glance, the game almost looks too simple. The visuals are minimalist, the units are tiny, the map looks like a board game. But after a few matches, you start realizing every move matters. Your positioning matters, the economy matters, the expansion speed matters, technology choices matter. You immediately start changing your thinking. Can I survive another turn? Can I afford this unit now? Will I get another turn to push the city or defend? Do I invest in economy or military? This teeny tiny little game starts creating real strategic tension. And this is where Polytopia absolutely succeeds. It respects your time. The matches move quickly, turns are fast, systems are readable. You're going to spend more time making decisions instead of fighting the interface. And that alone already puts it ahead of a shockingly large number of really quality strategy games. I think one of the hardest things to do in a lot of places, especially video game design, is making something simple without making it shallow. And a lot of games make the mistake of complexity and thinking that is equal to depth. They throw dozens of mechanics at the player, huge tech trees, massive UI screens, layer after layer after layer. But you and I both know that the more mechanics do not automatically create better strategy games. Sometimes they just create noise, and Polytopia avoids this trap. The game is incredibly readable. You can understand the basics within minutes, within moments. You don't need pop-ups and text walls. The cities generate stars, stars buy units or technology, technology unlocks better options. That's about it. Yes, better options help you expand faster, fight stronger enemies, but the loop is so easy to understand, and within that simplicity are constraint and constant small decisions. Do you expand early? Do you go for a little more greedy economy? Do you rush a military unit? Do you do more scouting? Do you invest in your roads? Do you play more defensively? And frankly, because matches are smaller and faster, every decision feels immediate. You see the consequences quickly, and this creates this momentum. You lose a city because you got greedy. You immediately realize your economy collapsed because you overbuilt units. You discover your army is trapped right away because you ignored a movement upgrade. The game teaches you through consequences, and that's a good strategy design here, as the best strategy games create stories naturally. You remember those close battles. You remember those desperate defenses. You remember surviving with that one city left. Polytopia has the magic of constantly creating those mini moments because the game moves at a pace where tension quickly builds, and the shorter match length helps a lot. Some strategy games I find exhausting. You sit down for one game and suddenly 4 hours disappear. You enjoyed your time, but 4 hours is gone. Polytopia understands that not every strategy experience needs to become a second part-time job here. You can finish matches relatively quickly, and that makes the failure less frustrating. If you lose a game after 20 minutes, it feels very, very different than losing a game after 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours. And because of that, experimentation becomes kind of fun. In Polytopia, I found myself willing to try some weird strategies, more willing to take some risks, and more willing to restart. I think that accessibility, that approachableness is a huge part of why I think Polytopia has a strong place in the strategy space. I think at its core, the Battle of Polytopia succeeds because it understands restraint. It knows exactly what kind of game it wants to be. It's fast, it's readable, it's accessible, and I might even say addictive, and most importantly, I found it fun. I said it, F-U-N, the big three-letter word. I had fun in Polytopia. And I got it. That sounds obvious. But I think a lot of strategy games forget that part. Instead, they become bloated, overcomplicated, and exhausting, where here, Polytopia stays focused. You expand, you defend, you adapt, you survive. The games move quickly. Every decision feels meaningful. And even after, for me, the novelty started to fade, there's still just something satisfying about having 30 minutes and going, you know what, I'm going to jump into one more match, one more attempt, one more strategy. It's just easy to recommend because it's such a small, clean commitment. If you ever wanted a strategy game that respects your time, no giant commitments, no overwhelming systems, not endless encounters of friction on top of friction, just a clean strategy design, I think the Battle of Polytopia is a good pick. Still, I think the things that hold Polytopia back are some of those limitations, as over time you might decide that, the optimal opening is really obvious. Well, some matches snowball a little too hard because the games are kind of tight, and that strategic ceiling starts to appear. For a lightweight strategy game designed around quick, readable matches, the Battle of Polytopia is exceptional. I think its clean strategy design is something that more games can learn from, because sometimes the smartest thing a game can do is stay simple. The Battle of Polytopia is awarded a 4 out of 5. I recommend.